and welcome to another episode of the Rangman Show. And today we have a very special guest who happens to be my brother as well. He's Devansh. Devansh, say hi to everyone.
Hi everyone.
Devansh,
Thanks
Hey,
for
hi
joining.
Devansh.
Devansh
Everyone
is
में
Hi,
सिर्फ
hi
here.
दो
Prolab.
लोग ही हैं, but that's fine.
Yeah, Devansh is here not on the dint of being my brother. Devansh is a wonderful coffee roaster and he's an entrepreneur in his own right. He works with coffee very closely along with Sonali, who is his wife and his business partner, who will be joining us shortly as well. While Sonali joins us, Devansh, why don't you, while I am aware of the journey that you've taken, why don't you tell the world about the journey and Pranay about the journey that you've taken?
All right. I basically, right after college, I did my bachelor's in mathematics. And right after college, I felt a little lost in the sense that I didn't want to pursue maths itself, even though I was very interested in it. And parents were like, MBA kar lo, makes more sense. You have the math background, your English is fine. MBA is like the best option. And do whatever you want, at least just get a master's degree. And I have always been in love with coffee. So I took a drop here in the whole year ki I'll prepare for an MBA or entrance exam or whatever. And yeah, Potboiler was this cafe that had started like a month into operations, and I was like a regular there. And they were looking for part-time baristas and people who just want to come join the team. And I was like, I am free mostly. Drop your और क्या कर रहा है इंसान. So just joined in as a part-time barista. And that turns out coffee was where my passion lies, and I'm stuck and I'm here. What, 5 years into coffee? 5 years into Potboiler? Yes.
So, Devansh, why the name Potboiler?
Okay, so Potboiler basically started off as Sonali's college project. So, like she did her bachelor's in mass communication and journalism, and in a semester they had one paper which was basically to come up with a brand and an entire storyline, a letterhead, what the brand is about, and the entire marketing, what it's going to be, वगैरह वगैरह. Like पूरा एक brand बनाना था virtually. In that, she had started Potboiler Books, which was like, she always wanted to open like a book cafe, but a cafe was always there in her mind. Like she till date, she says her main inspiration is from Karen's Cafe in One Tree Hill. So that's where it started. Potboiler came around as what she says is basically a tongue in cheek because the whole, World War One, World War Two era, those thin books that used to come, which were like a very fast read, like pot boiling stories or pot boilers, as people like to call it. So pot boiler, from there it came, and also you keep a pot of water for boiling. So that's how you make coffee. So yeah, kind of a nice tongue in cheek. So
Hi,
yeah, Sonali
Sonali.
is also here. Yes.
Hi. Sonali, we were just hearing the story about why you named the cafe Potboiler. You have to speak a
Sonali, I
little
think,
louder. We can't hear you.
yeah, Devansh, it's better if you get off your headphones so that Sonali and you can be on the speaker volume.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Nishan, do you want to just introduce Sonali also to our
Sorry for
viewers
joining
once?
you guys late.
No worries. It's absolutely okay. Sonali, Devansh was just telling us about how Potboiler came into being. The name Potboiler
I
came into
just
being.
reached why Potboiler, the whole tongue in
You
cheek.
continue. Sorry, there were 3 fires to put down.
Fight. Okay.
Yes, to fight, no, to put down.
Are you
Wow.
diffusing the
I
fires
fight
with
when the
coffee?
fight doesn't start.
Sonali, were you
Can't get
diffusing?
as raw as it can get today, guys. To ask me what
Yeah,
it
but
is
were you
like.
diffusing the fires with coffee?
Nah. You only diffuse them. Earlier, I used to diffuse them with anger. Now I diffuse them with conversations.
Nice. So, Sonali, this one's for you. Since you've
Yeah.
been basically the brain behind Potboiler, tell us about your journey as to I know that you got into it as a college project, as Devansh was explaining it to us. But how has it been over the last 5 years? How you've basically built this brand, how you intend to take it forward in some way? Just like in two sentences or something.
Absolutely. I think probably because it started as a very, okay, I need to have one coffee shop that has books in it kind of idea. And it took me a year. In that year, COVID hitting, for me to kind of realize that this is not just like a passion project, but also for it to be my business. So probably it took at least the first year, because until COVID happened, I was fairly new to F&B because I come from a content writing and editing background, and until then I was just kind of understanding the ropes of what it is like कि coffee चाहिए होता है, ये होता है, operational issues होते हैं, or quality ये होता है, ये होता है, like understanding the lingo, understanding the systems, etc. And whilst that was happening, COVID hit, and that is when I was like, okay. And there was this juncture where you're like, you either shut down or you are like, do you fight for it? And when that fire to fight for it was like really strong, is when I realized that, okay, this is not like a college dream that, I just want to see passion turn, like dreams turn into something reality, etc. It became much more realistic. So it is post COVID and post, actually, obviously after the first lockdown, it was about how do we survive, how does the space survive, how does the brand survive, that okay, there's this thing called Potboiler. And then after the second lockdown happened, and then you're like, okay, how do you evolve? So the first 3 years probably was a lot about constantly evolving and finding your space as a business, as a coffee space, and as an entrepreneur. And that's when finally we were able to like settle down, etc., open our second space where we are sitting right now, which is Potboiler Salt Lake.
Into roasting.
Getting into roasting. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I spoke a very cafe route. But yeah, actually, like to dial it down a bit, first 3 years, and then we were like, acha, theek hai. That's when Devansh also, joined the business full time.
Business.
And then from being a solo founder, we became co-founders, and that was like the biggest relaxed thing that could happen to me, because now I could share the burden of not just running a space but also expanding the business. And the first step of expansion became ki, okay, let's go to the
backward integration, where it was like, okay, if we are expanding into more, we have to make sure everything is perfectly placed so that we can expand. So our coffees need to have a tighter control on flavor. So that's why we are like, first let's start roasting, then let's get to opening the second space.
So Devansh and Sonali, speaking about space, you guys had mentioned in an offline conversation that cafes are the third space, so to speak, for any individual. So can you sort of delve on that?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you would.
Great. Basically, it's not that new a concept, but I believe the first time there was something that was written about it was in the late 80s, like 1980s, the concept of a third space, right? How that happens is the first space is where it's your home, right? Because that's where you primarily want to go to sleep in, and that's your, probably the first safe space. The second space is probably your workplace, because that's where you're spending the most number of hours, right? You're either working there or something like that. So the concept of third space is probably where you go to kind of escape or kind of take a break from the first and the second space. And that's where, a cafe kind of comes into the concept of being a third space, because whether you're alone, whether it's, even if it's a meeting, or even if it's a solo project, or even if it's meeting your friends, you are kind of meeting them somewhere which is not your home or work, right? So that's where the concept of the third space comes to be. And what other places and cafes, because be it so it's not very categorized to what the kind of lifestyle is, but more into the space bit where maybe you're working, but you're working out of the cafe because you just want that break from, यार ऑफिस में इनको कितने बार बुला लिया, चलो इस बार कहीं कैफे में बाहर एक मीटिंग कर लेते हैं, so just that third space idea generating from there, and that's where a cafe kind of fits in to the third space concept.
So I have friends in here in Bombay, and I have friends in Bangalore who actually get the concept of a third space going. They actually try to spend some time outside of work and outside of homes just so that they could get their bearings. How is it, or how difficult or how easy is it to have established this concept in a city like Calcutta? Because that is where you guys are primarily based out of. So how difficult, or how has that been to establish this sort of a thinking into Calcutta, which is sort of not very well known for embracing newer concepts?
Got it.
I mean, in Calcutta, honestly speaking, a third space is
Or
of
Kolkata, sorry.
paramount.
Let's call it
Kolkata.
Kolkata because
Kolkata. I prefer Calcutta, so I'm just gonna say Calcutta. But yeah, in Calcutta, like people look for that third space. Mane, culture always Calcutta ka has been where, even if you see people going for a morning walk, all these, you know, uncles or the older generation, they go for a walk, but then they the walk is just a bahana to actually end up meeting at this particular, sweet shop or a chai ka gumti where they have spent their childhood. And
having kachori,
walk is
puri
just a
kachori.
bahana. So they want, or hing kachori. So they want that third space has been always engraved. It's more like we had money. People have to just reintroduce it as a newer concept for the newer generation, make it more feng shui, make it more to their liking, and not have, Gumti doesn't attract youngsters. Let's be honest.
Got it. Got it.
So yeah, it wasn't tough introducing it as a third space. More like we just made a comfort space, and then it became people's third space. Because yesterday itself, I met this one person and I struck up a conversation with him. Turns out he struck up a conversation with a random person and now they are dating. It's been 2 years and it was at a potboiler. It was at this outlet itself.
Oh, nice. So there's love stories getting made at your
The love story is getting
at a
made,
third space
and
as
it's
well.
getting made.
So love is boiling at Potboiler.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So now that you mentioned guests as well, you also mentioned one of in an offline conversation about having like a lot of popular celebs sometimes dropping into your space as well from time to time. How has that experience been?
I mean, it's a mixed, yeah.
It's a mixed thing
experience.
where probably, I mean, we let them be and we kind of don't make it like a big deal, because I feel like it kind of goes against everything where we're not really giving them their space or privacy. So we don't like to post about, oh, this celebrity visited, thank you for visiting us, etc. Because probably they are here because they don't want to be known or disturbed as much, because they come in that very relaxed thing where, and we also have a lot of celebrities coming alone just for a cuppa or something like that, and just like doing their thing, either
Yeah.
doodling, scribbling, or just like being
It's just like being with their family.
with the family.
With
So
the family
yeah,
as well.
so it's amazing that we get to be that space where they kind of don't want to be disturbed. Because they don't tag us so much, they don't talk about so much, but then they still come back to us, and it's also probably because we don't make it a hawa ki, oh, this celebrity came, so you have to come to Potboiler because this celebrity visits Potboiler. It's quite the opposite, where we are like, hey, sabki
okay.
privacy important hai.
Super. So celebrities, when you're visiting Calcutta, you know where to go. Kind of
I
sort
think
of for
it's
your
more
own
like
needs.
celebrities when you don't want to be celebrities, you know where to go.
Visit in Calcutta.
Yeah.
So guys, you guys had mentioned something very interesting the other day, talking about how through conversations and all that happen over coffee, one considers coffee to be a little more aspirational as compared to consumption of tea, though I think at large India is more of a tea market, but people are more open to coffee now and getting their own space and like sort of that third space sort of a thing that you were talking about. So, so how do you see the coffee versus tea trend happening right now?
I mean, honestly, India has been a predominantly tea drinking country. It comes from, not just us. Tea was brought to us by Britishers. Tea was a major reason why Britishers were interested in India, apart from the spices, of course. And yeah, tea has been like a DNA thing. Coffee, the past, say, odd 7 to 10 years, has taken that whole plummet. Like, it has gone up like, and how. We used to export about 95%, 90 to 95% of our coffees abroad. Now India is only exporting, say, 60%, and 40% is being consumed right in India. So that's a big jump. And numbers just denote that it's going to increase. Coffee consumption in India is just going to increase. In the next couple of years, coffee will probably be one of the five biggest industries in India in the next 7 odd years.
And I think the consumption pattern also started because it started as an aspirational drink, right? Like before this entire wave of, okay, there are 10 cafes on one street. It started with your local CCD or local barista, right? Like, and that's where the aspiration came from. Ki, okay, we are a group of 10 people. Let's go like split a brownie, order 2 3 cold coffees or frappes, and because that back then probably that's all that college gang or that group of friends could afford, to split three
Yep.
coffees and one brownie between 10 people. And that's where that thought of aspiration came from, ki yaar agar kahin achhi jagah milna hai na, where probably your parents are not going to ground you because there's beer in that same space, where do you meet? And that's where the concept of probably aspiration began in cities like Bangalore, where like Brigade Road CCD, you go to Bangalore and you tell them ki yaar Brigade Road ki CCD, probably it has changed and probably now it's not there anymore. But then that concept of ki people knew the roads because of that one barista there or that one CCD there. And that's how that slowly that aspirational thing came, ki okay, if I'm going there, I have to go to CCD once, I have to go to barista once. And that's how, when the cafe going culture started,
Yeah.
coffee beverage also became aspirational.
Right.
Barrigan Circular Road, 2003, 2004.
Mhm. Yeah.
I
One
used to
second, can
sneak
you
out of
sing?
school to go to the CCD.
Yeah, exactly, right. So I'm
Yeah.
sure, like, at least our generation, we always have that one story which is related to this aspirational thing कि यार यहाँ पे
Yeah.
कॉफी पीने का मन था तो इसलिए हम ऐसे गए थे और हम ऐसे स्प्लिट किए थे. We'll just remove the background 1 second. It's a lot of glitch. हाँ, इस बार.
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
Show
In
the
Bombay, I
space.
think
क्या करते हैं?
the
You don't have to
Starbucks
blur it
at
out. You can show
Rangman
the space.
Circle is
Yeah.
Yeah.
something which is very aspirational for people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, like see a lot of people going there, and it's a two-story thing, so it's pretty beautiful. और
Yeah.
वैसे भी बहुत लोग वहाँ पे जाके बस बैठते हैं और कॉफी भी नहीं पीते हैं, but they just want to go there. I'm sure that you guys
Exactly.
also been seeing people who are just coming here for just the vibe more than the coffee.
Hmm.
I
So
mean,
yeah.
yeah.
That makes a space, I
We have
guess.
had people who've come here, legit gotten an entire photo shoot done, and then just be like, "Thank you." Right? Like, okay, what else are we gonna do? You enjoyed the space. You took a lot of pictures. We say, "Do tag us." That's the least you can do. Bus. But yeah, the aspirational bit also makes sense because these people come here just to get the picture and get the validation that they were here. Like, cool. That's still out of the scope.
Aspiration
And
aside,
but that's more like a evolution of the
Evolution of the
aspiration, because it
aspiration.
became from, okay, I can, you know, go here to, okay, I want to go here because I need to tag the space
Yeah.
or show that I checked into the space. And that aspiration became a stronger physical thing when Facebook check-ins started, when you could check into a place. Right. So it's also
yeah.
the evolution of the aspiration of a cafe that serves coffee. So that's why coffee became an aspirational thing, because the cafe culture started so much and those kind of coffees were available in those cafes. And that's why the coffee as an aspiration, probably.
So speaking of the aspiration side of things, like you really said that, coffee became an aspiration because of, the cafe visiting culture, but there's also been an aspiration of taste, if I may put it that way, which is why
Hmm.
specialty coffee plays a big role right now. I remember uh, way back in 2004, 2003, 2004, the aforementioned example that I mentioned, of the CCDs of the world, a cappuccino or a latte used to be a big thing at that point of time. And then slowly we got introduced to other things, other recipes, other other types of coffees, say for example, a Thai coffee or a Turkish coffee or other basically coffee coming from different places, Indian sort of in Indian, what do you call, coffee growers trying to, you know, grow different types of coffee, and Indian roasters actually getting in different flavors and everything. Since you all also have a roastery thing, how do you see this shift? Where do you see this shift going in terms of specialty coffee becoming an everyday sort of a thing, not just in the cafe, but also, like, for example, for people who can buy it off the shelf, say, for example, our Tramways, which is your other brand, for example. Where do you see that going?
Okay, so see, consumption is rising at the end of the day. The thing with specialty coffee is not just it's a very quality conscious coffee, and it is expensive. It's much more expensive than your everyday commodity coffee, and the prices are just rising every day just because of climate change and how prone to issues specialty coffee can be with climate change. Mane, the same plant not being able to give you the same similar yield, the estates not being able to grow enough to meet the demands that they usually get, and because of that, specialty coffee, I believe, will it will be specialty. There would be a lot of quality consciousness to it, but then the high horse that specialty coffee has kind of been on, okay, only this coffee can be called specialty, that will be much more broader now, because even commodity coffee has pushed quality wise, become have gone quality wise way up. It tastes very close to specialty if you're having a good commodity coffee. So it's been more of a development of the supply chain and the people involved in it, while the crop and the product that is coffee is diminishing in the quantity.
Yeah, but I believe, like you mentioned, aspiration of taste, right? And I think that also comes from the fact that, and where specialty coffee really kicked in was that even today, any place, be it a Blue Tokai, be it a Third Wave, or be it any other space, I think the first and the foremost thing is they don't want you to look at coffee as black and white, or they don't want you to look at coffee as a product that is just bitter, right? They want you as a consumer to be able to experience coffee and its multiple layers, similar to how wine is, right? It is something that probably is not easily available everywhere, but at the same time, wine is not just wine. There's so many nuances
Yeah.
to wine.
Yeah.
Similarly, in coffee, I think the attempt of specialty coffee started that way when it comes to like aspiration of taste, is that you drink it, you see that you're not going to get just bitter. You might get just like this sweet note to it. You might just see this, slightly acidic note to it. Maybe, your tongue is like your cheeks are salivating a little bit more. That is one side, and then the second side is it's not just like a plain old americano or a cappuccino. Hey, you can mix so and so thing with your espresso or with your cold brew and get this out of it. So also showing that the two, coffee as a bean and its true nature and flavors, and then coffee as a beverage, or as a raw material, as I like to call it, or as a base raw material, and what all you can do with coffee. So that's where that entire aspiration of taste also becomes in, why mixology in coffee is becoming like such a thing. Coffee cocktails have now like found very good market.
Very good football.
Yeah, and things like that. So
Yeah, because I don't remember using a mocha pot 10 years ago.
शायद मौका
And
ही
I
नहीं
think
मिला ना करने
it's
का
a
वो.
very standard thing right now. Sorry?
तुम्हें मौका ही नहीं मिला करने का वो.
मुझे 10 साल पहले मौका नहीं मिला था, अब मुझे मौका मिला. In fact, Devansh gifted me a mocha pot as well. So my point is that, mocha pot, French press, all of these ways, newer or older ways, which has been adapted to new ways of making coffees, are also sort of making inroads into people's everyday lives, right? Like, people would like to take that time out. It automatically becomes a ritual. Like, I see a lot of people who ritualize their coffee making and coffee brewing and coffee drinking process, that it has to take that 30-45 minutes. I think it's almost sort of meditative for them in a way.
Yeah,
So I guess there is that
yeah,
cultural shift.
Yeah, I mean, we ourselves take our 15-minute break every day to make a cup of coffee. The entire process of, grinding the beans, letting the water heat, pouring water on beans or mixing, however we are making, however we feel making, taking that 5-minute pause where everything else stops and it's just you making yourself a beverage.
Yeah, yeah. Like what Travis used to always say, it's like, you either pause to brew or you brew to
To pause.
pause. So that's the
That's
whole
nice.
thing where home brewing is a completely different thing because it's just like how any other art form is, right? Whether you're doing embroidery, whether you are painting, whether you're doing mandala art, it's something that where you are probably subconsciously being mindful. I don't know if I'm phrasing it correctly, but then subconscious is also like aligning with your conscious just to be like
Yeah.
present at that moment and not really like getting distracted of 10 other things that could distract you at that point.
In a state of flow. State
Huh.
of flow.
I mean,
So
that's
are
As,
you
how
as
guys
Ikigai calls it. As Ikigai calls it.
Huh.
A state of
are you guys
flow.
saying that coffee helps aid concentration now?
No, I mean, making coffee helps with our concentration.
It is their
Definitely.
meditative process.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
But
like honestly, till now, if I am not feeling well, I would be like, I need a shift at the cafe. I need to make like a couple of like about 10-15 beverages and talk to people. That's when I am gonna feel better. But making that coffee is a very big part of the entire thing that gets me out of mental funk. So
it's
it
interesting
is.
you talk about making coffee and trying out new variations and stuff. So whenever you guys want to introduce something which is a new variant, तो पहले आप लोग वो test कैसे करते हो? Do you guys like test it as a home brewing thing, try it amongst yourselves, and then if you guys are satisfied, then introduce it as a variant, or how does that work? Because I'm rather
The
intrigued to
basic
know this.
R&D
Red
process.
team, R&D process, the red team.
So it really depends. It depends. What is it? Are we launching a new coffee bean, or are we launching a new beverage, or are we like launching a new menu? Because तीनों का R&D थोड़ा अलग-अलग होता है. If it's beans, obviously we like to do one to sample roast profiles, send it to friends we know, etc., and be like, okay, brew this, however you would like, and then just let us know what you thought of the coffee. If it's a beverage, so the approach to introducing a new beverage, which say for example, we have this thing called coffee pick of the month, right? Brew Crew's coffee pick of the month, where every month we believe ki yaar, there should be something new for you to try when you're coming to Potboiler. And
Sorry,
that
what's
coffee,
Brew Crew? Could you just in a sentence say that for the
Brew Crew's coffee pick of the month.
okay. So what is Brew Crew?
Basically, Brew Crew is what we like to call ourselves, the team.
Hmm. Okay.
The entire, it's a team, right? We don't like to use the word staff and things like that because end of the day, it's a team that is pushing the space through. So it's the team, and the team is called Brew Crew, where yeah, so that's why it says Brew Crew. But the concept is a coffee pick of the month, where where the previous 15th of the month we have already started thinking about next month kya karna chahiye, thinking is it going to be seasonal, is it going to be flavor based, is it going to be something that people have been seeing on the internet, so hum unko kyun nahi try kara dete hamare space pe. So the idea is like the base could always be different, but the R&D is always the same, where first we develop the flavors, then we kind of have our own internal tasting, get the team's feedback, then push it to the regulars, be like, array, this is the new coffee, try it and let us know what you thought. And if it passes all the checkpoints and if it passes the red team, then it makes it to the coffee pick. I call myself the red team because my personal choices are very different. But then I do believe my knack for understanding what the guest base or the customer base would probably like is much stronger. So I like to keep it at that, where I'm able to like keep my thoughts aside and be like, acha, theek hai, if this is being perceived by a third person, what would they like? So that's why I'm the red team. Because Devansh is too creative and too in the zone. So he's that person who's, focused on, okay, to get the beverage right, to get the recipe right, to get everything right. So one person focuses on the craft, and the other then, tries to focus on how the craft can be, interpreted by the
My
third
my
person.
bane is I don't mind mixing anything with anything. I would put kasundi to coconut water and drink it just to see how it tastes. I'm that person.
Kashundi's mustard sauce, huh?
He would know.
Mustard sauce.
He would know he has
I
already.
have already mixed it with coffee too.
So guys, we have about 7.5 minutes on the podcast remaining. We've been
All right.
speaking for
Okay.
33
Yes.
minutes.
Yes.
I just have two last questions. One is, who do you see as competition to Potboiler? And second is, why should someone consider Potboiler over competition? And then
Ooh.
Nishant can sort of end this.
All right.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay. Do we believe there is a competition?
I mean,
Like-
honestly, the competition is only last
Last-
month's sales or last year's sales. So
or
yeah,
how many people
those
loved our
big
coffee last
franchisees,
month?
आप लोग उनको competition नहीं मानते हो, the likes of
वो
Starbucks, Tim
हमारा
Hortons.
कंपटीशन कैसे हो सकता है, क्योंकि उनका गेम कितना
बहुत
अलग है.
अलग है.
उनका वॉल्यूम गेम है, उनका आउटलेट गेम है, और राइट नाउ हमारा क्वालिटी और हमारा प्रोडक्ट गेम है. So how can, I mean, a Blue Tokai can never be a competition. We are viewed in the same profile and in the same genre, but from our side, a Blue Tokai is not a competition. A third wave cannot be a competition because the game is very different. They are at a very, मतलब उनकी positioning बहुत अलग है market में, उनकी experience and वो भी बहुत अलग है market में.
And
So
their as a brand, their journey has been and is currently at a very different state
Yeah.
where जहाँ पे हम लोग हैं अभी.
like right now, and this is not कि थोड़ा ऐसा motivational answer देना है, but then honestly our competition right now is only our last year's sales and how we can beat that. So that's where we are in our growing stage. And why Potboiler over competition? I don't know how
And
much I
that's
can
not
answer.
over your last year's sales.
And that's not over my our last year's sales. But why Potboiler over a lot of the other, independent spaces or a lot of the other common coffee spaces that we see? My answer is in one line, because we believe that coffee is not a one shoe fits all. And that's why our menu also reflects the same. Our approach to the menu also reflects the same, where your mood drives your coffee order. And the space is just that comforting and that safe space to help you match that mood. That's it.
Yeah.
And your
Nishant,
Like mine is there's a coffee for every mood. So let your mood drive your coffee. Whatever you're having, you're making. Just we are here to just help you get it. Nothing else.
Nice. Just had one very silly sort of a question. Which is your most popular drink in your cafe?
Ooh.
Oh. I mean,
From the regular menu or from the signature menu, or just like the topmost?
All three.
okay.
So our best selling right now are long blacks, which says a lot about
Which
the
says a
people.
lot about the people coming into the space.
Yeah, because generally it's cappuccinos
Yeah.
or modern frappes, but ours is long black. And it's been so the past 5 months, constantly the most sold coffee. Second would be the Orange Palace, which is our OG creation. And also, like, our stamp of coffee is not just bitter, and it's not just milk or without milk, but hey, here's this coffee that is for non-coffee drinkers and coffee drinkers alike.
That's my personal favorite. Just saying.
Yeah.
Orange Palace.
Yeah.
And was the third one like in the other menu that you said?
We have this coffee called caramelized white chocolate mocha, and we have like a hot variant and a cold variant, and that is just like
it's people's like it's their guilty pleasure.
Yet sukoon wali coffee.
Sukoon wali coffee. It's a warm hug in a mug, as I like to call it.
I think you should use that. It's a warm hug in a mug.
Mug.
So I guess with the warm hugs and mugs, that brings us to the end of this extremely exhilarating and, it's almost like I don't have a coffee in my hand, but I feel very energized after this particular thing, because I'm like, okay, these are like 2 shots. Yeah, you had like a couple of shots of coffee on my behalf. Could you like tell about, like, say out your socials and everything, so that people who are watching this can follow you all as well? And we would also like for you to ask people if whether you liked having, what was your experience like on the Rangman show while preparing for it and now and everything. That would be really cool if you guys would tell us about it.
Yeah, actually, if you guys can give a life lesson that possibly you guys have learned in your journey to become these very successful entrepreneurs with Potboiler, that'll be really nice to end the show, and obviously your social credentials.
Absolutely, sure.
Absolutely.
You want to start?
So,
Exactly 2
like
minutes,
one,
49 seconds to do
Yeah.
this.
one lesson that I've learned, which is basically कि just keep on doing, because at the end of the day, once you are building something, or no matter what you're doing in life, when if you look back, it's like looking past a series of glasses. Even if one place you were wrong, your entire vision will have some impairment to it. So make sure it's clean. करो
Socials.
करते जाओ अच्छे से. And I go by Trips on Math and Coffee because I love math and coffee. So yeah, I go by Trips on Math and Coffee on Instagram. You can follow me there.
You can look up Potboiler at Potboiler Coffee on Instagram. We are trying to crack the YouTube space now. Same Potboiler Coffee
Who are we?
Kolkata. Yeah, yeah. अभी 2 वीडियो है, ज्यादा नहीं है. जब टाइम मिलेगा, मेरे को मिल नहीं रहा है. But yeah, I go by. You can just look up Sonali Lakhotia. There will be this woman brewing coffee, and that's me.
Reed Brewer.
Yeah, and yeah, my one lesson has been just to breathe. I used to take things too seriously, everything, every issue, and then I realized that the buck never stops. So इतना time खोटी नहीं करने का, हर एक चीज पे solve करो, आगे बढ़ो.
सांस लो.
सांस लो, बस. And that's been game changer. And yeah, the experience, thank you.
Yes.
It helped
Yeah.
us reflect a lot on what we should be talking about and how it has been. So thank you. I apologize again for joining it late. Situation.
You're firefighting. It's okay. You're
Yeah.
firefighting.
You're putting out
Yes.
fires, so it's fine.
Yeah. But then, yeah, again, just it is fun to always kind of take a pause and
Yeah.
reflect on what has been and what will be. So thanks to you guys, you gave us that chance.
So that was Sonali and Devansh on another episode on the Rangman Show. Please like, share, subscribe, and we'll come back with more meaningful content soon. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.